now look to Chengkai, Act Secretary, Brasenose College, to continue the case for the opposition.
Thank you, Sarah. Hannah Arendt opens her Human Condition with a remark about the 1957 launch of Sputnik 1, the first artificial Earth satellite by the Soviet Union. She quips, "The event, second in importance to no other, not even to the splitting of the atom, would have been greeted with unmitigated joy had it not been for the uncomfortable military and political circumstances attending it." But curiously enough, this joy was not triumphal. The immediate reaction expressed on the spur of the moment was relief about the first step towards escaping man's imprisonment on Earth. The imagery of space exploration and travel is filled with excitement, speculation, and awe. What the two proposition speakers have done very well so far, I must admit, is to convince us that when stars align and technology comes together, when we push continuously at expanding the frontiers of what is possible and becoming enamored with countering the speculative unknown at the expenses of the known problems we have on Earth, we will live a better life. I do not dispute with the possibility of those gains, but my argument today is simple. First, if we believe our future lies in space, we will have no future. Second, even if the future does lie in space for some, it will not be for the many. It will certainly exclude the most vulnerable and marginalized group in our society. Finally, I come to propose that the future lies not in space, but in us as a political collective and humanity. So let's get down to business to defeat our proposition. I want to start by noting there are existential problems that we must address. That space exploration distracts us attention and capital from tackling more fundamental problems. And those problems are likely to wipe us out before we even could reap any benefit from the distant space exploration. We cannot forget we can have no future if we, as humanity, cease to exist by the time when these opportunities arrive. I want you to look around you and think about the many problems humanity faces today. For the homeless people sleeping rough on Karl Marx Street tonight, to those dying of measles in the Congo today, to the residents in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh watching their homes and livelihood being swept away by flooding and rising seas. These are the problems that might be easy to ignore if you are a guest at a 3-course meal pre-debate dinner here tonight. But these are the very problems there are millions of people who cannot access this chamber are facing on a daily basis. These are problems that threaten the very real consequences, which we have no clear solutions for. First, climate change. Climate change is a looming threat that threatens to change the very fabric of the human condition forever, by disrupting lives of the coastal societies, transforming weather patterns as we know it, and sending our planet down to a path of no return under increasing temperatures. AI and machinization of labor is eliminating hundreds of thousands of jobs when people around the world, pushing a larger proportion of labor to the brink of replacement by machines. These changes are materializing faster than we think, and we have no plan to adapt our economy and society for these profound changes. Third, governments and electors around the world are swinging towards authoritarianism and dividing along religious and ethnic lines. Believing that the future lies in space means deprioritizing solutions to these threats in concrete ways, from shifting funding priorities to changing what we teach our children to aspire to be. It means looking forward to a better future 50 years onwards, whilst forgetting that if we do not address those problems today, that any future in space would just be as problematic as present we are facing. The future lies not with space, but in fixing these massive short-term problems that without fixing would render our long-term prospect miserable. You may think, why on earth is any of this relevant to the debate we are having here? We need to understand that the issues we are facing today are not earth-bound. We cannot be fooled by the claim that space travel could bring about easy answers to those issues when they would not be able to do so absent decades of exploration and enormous sums of money over the years. After 70 years of exploration, space colonization remains a distant possibility because we have yet to find any reasonable ways to self-sustain or cope with the geographical challenges of living on other planets at scale. Using space travel to rectify our present problems is certainly creative, but it's also far less cost-effective than focusing on the crisis for change and structural reforms within our society today. But let's go for the even if. Even if we manage to survive until space travel becomes viable, history and the human psyche suggest that when we carry out space exploration, it will represent the future for only some of us, and not all the humanity. From nuclear weapon to bioweapons, from exploration of cryptocurrency to complex financial services, exciting technologies have quickly been harnessed to divide and perpetuate inequality. Why does this pattern happen over and over again? Each time, interest groups and factions have sought to carve out space for their self-interest and gains. Space exploration and the technology it yields will be no different. The first decade of space exploration was marked by nationalistic competition between the US and the Soviet Union. After the Cold War, we entered a brief period of collaboration, the keystone of which was the International Space Station. That said, the International Space Station will crash back into the Earth in the next decades. There are no plans for a collaborative effort to replace it. Instead, space missions have been launched by individual countries and mega-rich billionaires with their own agenda to exploit space. Given this development trajectory, it's far-fetched to think that space travel will be in any way accessible or beneficial to anybody, but only 1% of the 1% on Earth. Will it become cheaper? As with all technologies, costs will surely come down over time, won't they? They may well. But the law of physics still offers some basic constraints. The resources it takes to propel launched objects into 25,000 miles per hour will always be substantial relative to how those resources could be used to benefit our human welfare on Earth. In any case, as technology becomes increasingly privatized through patents and obscure legal construct, it is only likely to be the case that space travel increasingly become a wealthy, private elite's pastime. I want to conclude with a final thought for tonight. Let's end on a positive note. That rather seeing the future in space, perhaps we should say it in us. Perhaps we should reinvest our faith in humanity, as flawed and imperfect as we are. I want to ask a question that Hannah Arendt, at the end of the Second World War and the beginning of the Cold War, was most preoccupied with. What makes us deserving of a future? What makes us participants, not merely patients, authors, not merely actors and actresses in our political future? What makes the human condition? Arendt says it is our ability to act as a political collective, respectful of and mutually dependent upon each other. And I find myself in agreement. To paraphrase a former president, there is nothing wrong with humanity that cannot be cured with what is right with humanity. If we can focus on improving the human condition, solving the problem which fragment the human collective, our potential is far greater than whatever space can offer us. Where there is humanity, there is future. The future lies not in stars, but in ourselves. Together, we can and we should be focusing on making a difference for our tomorrow. In the final analysis, that is the only thing that really matters. Act now, vote no. Thank you.